Afternoon. So here's a question. What would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self? Just going for a bit of a walk down through the dunes here. Beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon. Another winter's day. We do need some rain though. Sorry, it's the old farmer in me. I can't help thinking about things like that. Yes, what would you tell your younger self? This is something that came up recently. I was talking to my older sister and we were having a chat about life, the universe and everything, as you do. Well, as we do anyway. And something that we were talking about this idea and about mistakes we'd made and things that had happened to us and what we'd learnt and all that sort of stuff, which is, again, as I've said before, what this channel is really largely about. And in our discussions, we really come up with three things, I suppose. One of the first thing I'd say to myself is, if I'm talking to myself when I was, say, 15, say maybe from 15 to about 30 years old, somewhere around that sort of area, I'd say it's a big world. Don't be afraid to go out and enjoy it and experiment and look around and try different things out, do some travelling, take a gap year or whatever that takes, with the caveat, of course, that we don't want to I'm not necessarily suggesting you go out and take every little funny little pill that's offered to you, or try out any sort of alcoholic drink that someone plonks in front of you in some bar somewhere. But don't be afraid to go out and have experiences and travel around, try different jobs, try different things out. There's a lot of pressure these days with careers and that, of course, to get out and you got to get in and you got to do your study and you got to know what you're doing when you're in high school. And I mean, how many people really know that? It's a big world, and sure, it comes down to personal choice, but that's the first thing I'd say. It's a big world. Don't be afraid, especially that there's so much more opportunity these days to get out and just get out and travel. It's so much easier to do it than even when I was young. It's so much easier to do it. Airfares are relatively cheap. There's a lot of different opportunities out there to get out and do so many things. It's great to do things online and that sort of stuff, but the visceral tactile experience of being in a place, smelling it, the sights and the sounds and it's a fantastic experience, and you're not going to get that online. Second thing I'd say is this is a bit more practical, but don't be afraid to get your finances sorted out. Learn about money. Understand money. Look, there's no getting away from it. You can't avoid it in this world. You need to understand money. That's really key. I didn't really understand money till I was in my mid-40s, because I just kept pushing away. I didn't want to know about money. I just want to go out and be free and have fun and chase girls around and drink and race around in cars and do burnouts and act like a complete idiot, as you do. I still see people doing it these days. But learn about money, because it's important. Even if you learn to just put aside a little bit of your money, learn something about investing. The days of having a nice job with a nice fat paycheck have gone. The security and the regularity around that has largely disappeared. So you need to learn about money and to save it and to invest it. And if you're anything like me, well, you probably don't want to do a 9-to-5 job all your life anyway. So if you do some investing when you're young, it has a lot of time to grow and accumulate. And by the time you're in your 40s, maybe you've got an opportunity to sort of semi-retire or do something a bit different. Lots of videos on YouTube about that sort of thing. But learn about money. It's an essential. And the third thing is self-awareness. Now, of course, the process of living life is that we learn things as we go along, but don't be afraid, and it sort of relates back to the previous one, what I was saying about it's a big world, but don't be afraid to don't be afraid to get out there and get into learning and understanding things. Don't just assume because you've learned a few rules about life that you've got it all sorted out, because, you know, I'm nearly 57 years old and I've been through a lot of experiences, and I can tell you I had an interesting experience about when I was in my early 50s of suddenly realising, despite everything I'd done and despite everything that happened to me and everything I'd learned, and it's a vast amount of stuff, I've only just begun. It was quite a revelation to understand that. So don't be afraid to get out into the world and you know, expand your self-awareness, the awareness of who you are, where your position in the world, what you do, what you can do, what your possibilities are. You know, I've tried to teach my daughter this as much as possible too. You know, I think it's really important to, you know, to just understand yourself as much as you can, and sometimes it can be a painful experience. Sometimes there's a lot of things to learn there that aren't terribly comfortable, but if you persist, you persevere, you know, you'll learn things about yourself, and you'll realise after a year or two, or a few years later, when you've been through an experience and you look back on it a few years later, you realise, wow, I really grew there, I really learned stuff, you know. And it might be a bit of a cliche, oh, you know, one's got to understand yourself, you know, but it's true. That's why people keep talking about it. Okay, folks, well, I've arrived at a nice spot overlooking the ocean once again, one of my favourite spots. Live well, stay happy. Bye for now.